Go ahead, Rose.
My inner being communicates through emotion. You are much more than you see here in your physical body. For while you are indeed a wondrous physical creator, you exist simultaneously in other dimensions. There's a part of you, a non physical part of you, we call it your inner being, that exists right now while you are here in this physical body. Your emotions are physical indications of your relationship with your inner being. In other words, as you are focused upon a subject and have your specific perceptive and opinion, perspective and opinion about it, your inner being is also focused upon it and has a perspective and opinion about it. The emotions that you feel are your indication of the match or mismatch of those opinions. For example, something may have happened, and your current opinion of yourself is that you should have done better, or that you are not smart, or that you are unworthy. Since the current opinion of your inner being is that you are doing fine and that you are smart and eternally worthy, there is a definite mismatch in these opinions, and you would feel this mismatch in the form of negative emotion. On the other hand, when you feel proud of yourself or love yourself or someone else, your current opinion is much closer matched to what your inner being is feeling in the moment. And in that case, you would feel the positive emotions of pride, love, or appreciation. Your inner being or source energy always offers a perspective that is to your greatest advantage. And when your perspective matches that, then positive attraction is occurring. In other words, the better you feel, the better your point of attraction, and the better things turn out for you. The comparative vibration of your perspective and that of your inner being are responsible for this magnificent guidance that is always available to you. Since the law of attraction is always responding to acting on whatever vibration you are offering, it is extremely helpful to understand that your emotions are letting you know whether you are in the process of creating something you want or something you do not want. Often, when our physical friends learn the power of powerful law of attraction and begin to understand that they are attracting things to themselves by virtue of what they are thinking, they try to monitor each thought, often feeling guarded about their thoughts. But the monitoring of thoughts is a difficult thing because there are so many things that you might think about, and the law of attraction is continually bringing more. Rather than trying to monitor your thoughts, we encourage you to simply pay attention to how you are feeling. For if you should choose a thought that is not in harmony with the way the broader, older, wiser, loving inner being part of you sees it, you will feel the discord, and then you can easily redirect your thoughts to something that feels better and which therefore serves you better. You knew when you made the decision to come forth into this physical body that you would have access to this wonderful emotional guidance system. For you knew then that through your wonderful ever present emotions, you would be able to know if you were straying from your broader knowing or flowing with it. When you are giving thought in a direction of something that you want, you feel positive emotion. When you are giving thought in a direction of what you don't want, you will feel negative emotion. And so, simply by paying attention to the way you are feeling, you will know at all times the direction from which your powerful magnetic being is attracting the subject of whatever you are giving thought to. My omnipresent emotional guidance system. Your wonderful emotional guidance system is a great advantage to you because the law of attraction is always working whether you know it that it is or not. And so, whenever you are giving thought to something that you do not want, you stay focused upon that thought. By law, you are attracting more and more and more and more until eventually you will attract matching events or circumstances right into your experience. However, if you are aware of your emotional guidance system and are sensitive to the way that you feel, then you will notice in the early subtle stages that you are focused upon something that you do not want, and you can easily change the thought to begin attracting something that you do want. If you are not sensitive to the way you are feeling, then you will not consciously notice that you are thinking in the direction of what you do not want. And you may very well attract something very large and powerful that you do not want that will be more difficult to deal with later. When an idea occurs to you and you feel eagerness about it, that means that your inner being is a vibrational match to the idea, and your positive emotion is an indication that that vibration of your thought in this moment matches that of your inner being. That is, in fact, what inspiration is. You are in the moment in a perfect vibrational match to the broader perspective of your inner being. And because of that alignment, you are now receiving clear communication or guidance from your inner being.
What if I want it to happen more quickly? Because of the law of attraction, matching thoughts are drawn together, and as they do so, they become more powerful. And as they become more powerful and therefore closer to manifestation, the emotion that you feel also becomes proportionately larger. When you are focused upon something that you desire, then through the law of attraction, more and more thoughts about what you desire will be drawn, and you will feel greater positive emotion. You can speed up the creation of something simply by giving it more attention. The law of attraction takes care of the rest and brings you to the essence of the subject of your thought. You would define the words want or desires as follows: to focus attention or to give thoughts towards a subject, while at the same time experiencing positive emotion. When you give your attention to a subject and you only feel a positive emotion about it as you do so, it will come very quickly into your experience. Sometimes we hear our physical friends speaking the words want or desire while at the same time feeling doubt or fear that the desire cannot be achieved. From our point of view, it is not possible to purely desire something while feeling negative emotion. Pure desire is always accompanied by positive emotion. Perhaps that is why the people disagree with our use of the words want or desire. They often argue that wanting implies a sort of lack and contradicts its own meaning, and we agree. But the problem is not the word or label itself, but instead with the state of emotion expressed while using the word. It is our desire to help you understand that you can get whatever you want to be from wherever you are, no matter where you are or what your current state of being. The most important thing to understand is that your mental state of being or your attitude in the moment is the basis of from which you will attract more. So the powerful and consistent law of attraction is responding to everything in this vibrational universe, bringing people with matching vibrations together, bringing situations with matching vibrations together, and bringing thoughts with matching vibrations together. Indeed, everything in your life, from the way thoughts roll across your mind to the people you rendezvous with in traffic, is the way is that is the way that it is, due to the law of attraction. How do I want to see myself? For most of you, many things in your life are going well, and you want a continuation of those things. But there are also things that you wish to be different. In order for the things to change, you have to see them as you want them to be rather than continuing to observe them as they are. The majority of thoughts that you probably think are about the things that you are observing, which means that what it is dominates your focus, attention, vibration, and therefore your point of attraction. That is further compounded as those around you also observe you. And so, as a result of the overwhelming amount of attention that most of you give to your current situation, what is, the change comes very slowly or not at all. A steady stream of different people flows into your life, but the essence of the theme of those experiences does not change very much. In order to affect true positive change in your experience, you must disregard how things are, as well as how others are seeing you, and give more of your attention to the way you prefer things to be. With practice, you will change your point of attraction and will experience a substantial change in your life experience. Sickness can become wellness. Lack of abundance can become abundance. Bad relationships can be replaced with good relationships. Confusion can be replaced with clarity, and so on. By deliberately directing your thoughts rather than merely observing what is happening around you, you will begin to change the vibrational patterns to which the law of attraction is responding. And in time, with far less effort than you may currently believe, you will no longer, by responding to others, perceive you to be creating a future that is so familiar to your past and present. Instead, you will be the powerful, deliberate creator of your own experience.
You would not likely see a sculptor throwing his large wad of clay down onto his work table, exclaiming, "Oh, it didn't turn out right." He knows that he must put his hands in the clay and work with it to mold it so that the vision in his mind matches the clay on his table. The variety of your experience gives you the clay from which you will mold your life experience, and merely observing it as it is, without getting a hold of it and deliberately molding it to match your desires, is not satisfying and is not what you had in mind when you made the decision to come into this time-space reality. We want you to understand that your clay, no matter how it may look right now, is moldable, no exceptions. Welcome, little one, to planet Earth. You may be feeling that it would be easier to be hearing these words if they had come to you on the first day of your experience upon this planet Earth. And if we were talking to you for the first day of physical life experience, this is what we would be saying. Welcome, little one, to planet Earth. There is nothing that you cannot be, do, or have. You are a magnificent creator, and you are here by virtue of your powerful and deliberate wanting to be here. You have specifically applied the wondrous science of deliberate creation, and by your ability to do that, you are here. Go forth, giving thought to what you want, attracting life experiences to help you decide what you want, and once you have decided, giving thought only unto that. Most of your time will be spent collecting data that will help you decide what it is that you want. Your real work is to decide what you want and then focus upon it. For it is through focusing upon what you want that you will attract it. That is the process of creating, giving thought to what you want, so much thought and such clear thought that your inner being offers forth emotion. And as you are giving thought with emotion, you become the most powerful of all magnets. That is the process by which you will attract what you want into your experience. Many of the thoughts that you will be thinking will not be powerful in their attracting, not in the beginning, not unless you stay focused upon them long enough that they become more. For as they become more in quantity, they become more in power. And as they become more in quantity and more in power, the emotion that you will be feeling from your inner being will be greater. When you think thoughts that bring forth emotion, you're accessing the power of the universe. Go forth, we would say, on this day of life experience, knowing that your work is to decide what you want and then focus upon that. But we are not talking to you on the first day of your life experience. You've been here for a while. Most of you have been seeing yourself not only through your own eyes, in fact, not even primarily through your own eyes, but through the eyes of others. Therefore, many of you are not currently in the state of being that you want to be. Is my reality really all that real? We intend to offer you a process whereby you can achieve a state of being that is of your choosing so that you can access the power of the universe and begin attracting the subject of your wanting rather than the subject of what you feel is your actual state of being. For from our perspective, there is a very great difference between that which now exists, which you call your reality, and that which your reality really is. Even if you sit in a body that is not healthy or in one that is not in the size, shape, or vitality that you choose, in a lifestyle that does not please you, driving an automobile that embarrasses you, interacting with others who do not bring you pleasure, we want to assist you in understanding that while it may seem to be your state of being, it need not be. Your state of being is the way you feel about yourself about any point in time. How can I increase my magnetic power? The thoughts that you think without bringing forth the feeling of strong emotion are not a great magnetic power. In other words, while every thought that you think is has creative potential or magnetic attracting potential, the thoughts that are thought in combination with the feeling of strong emotion are the most powerful. Certainly, the majority of your thoughts then have no great attracting power. They are more or less maintaining what you have already attracted. And so, can you not see the value of spending 10 to 15 minutes every day deliberately setting forth powerful thoughts that evoke great, powerful, passionate, positive emotion in order to attract circumstances and events into your life experience that are to your wanting? We see great value in them.
Here we will offer a process by which you may spend a little bit of time every day intentionally attracting into your experience the health, vitality, prosperity, positive interaction with others, all the things that make up your vision of what the perfect life experiences would be for you. And that will be challenging or changing thing, sorry, and that will be a changing thing, friends. For as you intend and receive, you will not only receive the benefit of that of which you've created, but you will also receive a new perspective from which your intentions will be different. That is what evolution and growth are about. Abraham's creative workshop process. Here's the process. You're going to go into kind of a creative workshop every day, not for a long period of time. 15 minutes is a good amount of time, 20 minutes at most. This workshop needs not occur in the same place in every day, but it is good if it is a place where you will not be distracted or interrupted. This is not a place where you will enter into an alternate state of consciousness. It is not a meditative state. It is a state of giving thought to what you want with such clarity that your inner being responds by offering a confirming emotion. Before you begin this process, it is important that you be happy, for if you go in there unhappy or feeling no emotion, then your work will not be of great value, for your attracting power will not be there. When we say happy, we're not speaking of that jumping up and down sort of excitement. We mean uplifted, light-heartening feeling, that sort of sensation where all is well. And so we recommend that you do whatever it takes to get happy. For each of you, it is a different process. For Esther, hearing music is a very fast way to get that uplifted, joyous feeling. But not all music accomplishes that, not even the same music every time. For some of you, it is interacting with animals or being near moving water. But once you bring yourself into that good feeling, then sit. And now your workshop has begun. Your job here in this workshop is to assimilate data that you have been collecting from your real life experiences as you've been interacting with others and moving in and out of your physical environment. Your work here is to bring the data together in a sort of picture of yourself, one that satisfies and pleases you. Your life experience outside of your workshop will be a great value, for as you are moving through your day, no matter what you're doing, going to work, working around your home, interacting with your mate or your friends or your children or your parents, if you use your time with one of your intentions being to collect data and look for things that you may bring into your workshop, then you will find that every day is one of fun. Have you ever gone on a shopping spree where you had some money in your pocket and your intent was to find something to buy? And as you're looking around, although there are many things you did not want, your intent was to find something that you did want to exchange for money. Well, that is the way we like you to look at every day of your experience, as if you have a pocket full of something that you're exchanging for this data that you are collecting. For example, you may see someone who has a joyful personality, collecting that data, intending to bring it into your workshop later. You may see someone driving a vehicle that you liked, collect that data. You may see an occupation that pleases you. Whatever it is that you are seeing that pleases you, remember it. You can even write it down. As you see anything that you think you would like in your life experience, see yourself collecting that data in a sort of mental bank. And then when you get into your workshop, you begin assimilating the data. And as you do, you'll prepare a picture of yourself from which you will begin attracting into your experience the essence of that which has been pleasing you. If you're able to grasp this knowledge for your real work, no matter what other activities you're performing, is to look around for things that you want to with the intention of bringing them into your workshop in order to create a vision of yourself from which you will attract. Then you will come to know that there is nothing that you cannot be, do, or have. I'm now in my creative workshop. And so now you're feeling happy and you're sitting someplace in your workshop. For example, here's an example of the work you may do in your creative workshop. I like being here. I recognize the value and the power of this time. I feel very good to be here. I see myself as sort of a total package, one I know that is of my own creating, and certainly a package of my choosing. I'm full of energy in this picture of myself, tireless and really moving through life experience without resistance. As I see myself gliding about, moving in and out of my car, in and out of my buildings or out of buildings, in and out of rooms, in and out of conversations, and in and out of life experiences, I see myself flowing effortlessly and comfortably and happily.
I see myself attracting only those who are in harmony with my current intent. And I am clearer and clearer in every moment about what it is I want. When I get into my automobile and I am moving to a place, I see myself arriving healthy and refreshed and on time and prepared for whatever it is that I am about to do there. I see myself dressed to perfection in just the manner that I choose for myself. And it is nice to know that it matters not what others are choosing or what others are even thinking about, what I am choosing. What is important is that I'm pleased with me. And as I see myself, I certainly am. I recognize that I am unlimited in all facets of my life. I have a bank account balance that is unlimited. And as I see myself moving through life experiences, it is exhilarating to know that there is nothing that I am choosing that is limited by money. I am making all of my decisions based upon whether I want the experience or not based upon whether or not I can afford the experience. For I know I am a magnet who attracts at any point whatever prosperity, health, and relationships I choose. I choose absolute and continuing abundance, for I understand that there is no limit to the abundance in the universe, and that by my attracting abundance to myself, I'm not limiting another. There is enough for everyone. The key is for each of us to see it and want it, and then we will each attract it. And so I have chosen unlimited, not necessarily putting a big stash away, for I understand that I have the power to attract it as I want it for whatever I want it for. And as I think of something else that I want, the money flows to me easily. So I have an unlimited supply of abundance and prosperity. There are abundant aspects in every area of my life. I see myself surrounded by others who, like me, want growth and who are drawn to me by my willingness to allow them to be, do, or have whatever they want. Well, I do not need to draw into my experience those things that they may be choosing that I do not like. I see myself interacting with others and talking, laughing, and enjoying that which is perfect in them while they enjoy that which is perfect in me. All of us are appreciating one another, and none of us is criticizing or noticing those things that we do not like. I see myself in perfect health. I see myself in absolute prosperity. I see myself invigorating with life, again, appreciating this physical life experience that I wanted so very much as I decided to be a physical being. It is glorious to be here as a physical being, making decisions with my physical brain, but assessing the power of the universe through the power of the law of attraction. And it is from the marvelous state of being that I now attract more of the same. It is good. It is fun. I like it very much. I will leave this workshop and I will set out during the remainder of this day to look for more things that I like. It is nice to know that if I see one who is prosperous but sick, I do not need to bring the whole package into my workshop, just the part that I like. So I will bring the example of prosperity, and I will leave out the example of sickness. My work, for now, is done. Are not all laws universal laws? Jerry. Abraham, you spoke to us of 3 major universal laws. Are there some laws that are not universal? Abraham responds, there are many that you may call laws. We reserve our definition of law for those things that are universal. In other words, as you enter into the physical dimension, you have the agreement of time, the agreement of gravity, the agreement of this perception of space. But those agreements are not universal, for there are other dimensions that do not share those experiences. In many cases, where you may use the word law, we would use the word agreement instead. There are no other universal laws that we are waiting to divulge to you later. Wow. This was so good. And can I say again, we started off bang on. Like the first thing that I highlighted was your emotions are your physical indication of your relationship with your inner being. Wow. So our emotions are really like Abraham says they're a guidance system. So it's where our focus is. Not necessarily, I think, I don't know about you, but I think for me, I feel like we think, like from our human perspective, that emotions are the secondary thing based on our 3D vision. Nuh-uh. No, it's not. So it's not the second factor of like thought versus what we see on the outside. Does that make sense to you all?
Yeah, it's not the feel, or it's the feeling is the guidance. So like
Yeah.
you said, all along we've been taught to respond to the feeling.
Yeah.
To create the things need feelings. Things create the feelings. So we're looking outside of us. We need, because if we look at it from societal perspective, we've gone as a kid, we were looking to our parents. We've always been seeking outside of us for guidance. It's like whatever our parents say is right and wrong, whatever our teacher said is right and wrong, whatever our family said is right and wrong, whatever society says is right and wrong. We've never trusted our own inner guidance. We did when we were kids. Our intuition guided us, our inner being has guided us at the very beginning, but then we get trained otherwise. And like you said, it is really, we have our own inner guidance that we have not been tapped into.
Yeah.
And that's the magic right there.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. And
don't you think people more live by, like you said, 3D, but kind of like through their five senses?
Exactly.
Right? Like what you can see, feel, touch, that doesn't go into the emotion.
But so do you, I just want to clarify this. Like, I just want to get it really clear, because what we do is we see everything with our eyes. So we see something happening outside of us, or a situation, an experience, right? And then we feel something. So we think that we need to listen to our feelings based on what we see with our eyes. But in fact, that feeling is us understanding that it's not what we want. And instead, then we, again, seek outwards, 3D, trying to fix it versus fixing what we see inside first. Like really thinking about like, okay, what am I focusing on?
Or what
Can you give
feels
an
good for
example,
me?
Lisa? Yeah.
So think of it that, so, right, she says, use what we see on the outside as we're collecting data. So, for example, let me take my experience this past weekend, right? I seen the water on the floor. Immediately, I have like some type of feeling a certain way. And I think, I don't want this. I don't want this. Why is this happening? But instead, it's like, what would I like to happen in this situation? Right? I'd like to think of a better example that is more about
No, that's a great,
that's
I was
outside.
going to say, yeah, go ahead.
it was a
Can I
great
add to that?
example. Sorry,
So
go ahead.
Yeah.
in taking your example, Lisa, I think it's important to differentiate between feelings and fear, because it said you can't offer doubt and worry and love and acceptance
Yes.
and what I want at the
Yes.
same time. So in your example, for example, it's important to identify that, When I asked you, for example, don't you want to replace the water tank? You're like, yes, but then the underlying feeling was doubt and fear for whatever reason.
Yeah, of
But
course. Yeah.
but if
Or
we focus on
financial, or is it
just
the
what we
time? Or,
desire, if we focus on just what we desire, right? It's not just looking at the 3D observed world and saying that, oh, it elicited a negative feeling from me. That's still not speaking to the inner being that is saying, yes, yes, I do want this. There is excitement underlying, but there's programming on top of it that's
Mhm.
creating the feelings of doubt, worry, and fear. So it's important that people listening understand the differentiation between giving yourself into the fear that you can't have it because of programming, rather understanding, just tapping into the heart and the essence of knowing that there is an abundance out there and I want something. So come back to the core of it. Ignore everything else. Ignore your senses. Do you want the thing or do you not want the thing?
Yeah.
Forget everything else. The second feeling, that is secondary. The primary feeling is what you want to tap into. Do I want this?
Yeah. You're
Don't
right.
worry.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. Clearly. Shauna, you were
So if you go
saying
back to the water example, is the primary feeling fear? I think most of us, if we see a leak in our house, would be some side of like, oh crap, that's happening.
yes, and I'll tell you, I think immediately, because of how we're conditioned, the fear is I don't want to spend money. That's our init. That is always the initial, like the time, we don't have the time for this, or what is this that's happening, or I don't want to spend the money, or now we have to go through all the. This is the conditioning. This is the 3D experience, the human aspect of, instead of, and it's so cliche, but there's always a silver lining, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
you
that's
don't see that in
why
that
that
instant
says
all
that.
the time.
No, you don't. Exactly. But if you were more in tune with your emotions and not allow yourself to get away, like Rosie said, if we were more clear on our intention, then we would understand that all these things happen for a reason,
Yeah.
right?
And
And I
Can
and
I
would love
can
even
to
I
think
just
of
add
it.
one thing about
Yeah.
this? So the second part of your story was when you turned on the water, there was no leak.
Yeah.
You didn't want a leak, right? What did you want? You wanted your water to work correctly,
Yeah. Yeah,
Agreed.
exactly. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I
We
wanted
can't
everything
forget
to be
that
okay.
part.
I
That
wanted,
is, but that is really was your underlying feeling.
yeah, I
Right. So
wanted
when the
everything to
for
be
those that
okay.
are watching, when the plumber came,
Okay. First of all, can I just pause everybody? Because I got in after the story. So I'm one of those listeners.
oh, perfect.
You don't know the story. You got to retell the story now.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think we have
So,
the full
so
story here.
really quickly, forgetting the whole idea that we had to have our hot water tank replaced, I then a day later was cleaning around the house, and I turn around after I had just cleaned the floor and everything was fine and nothing happening. 15 minutes later, I turn around and there's a huge leak coming out from my kitchen sink. Out of the cupboard, all water under the cupboard, all now coming down onto the floor, right? So I think about like how that happened, but what we're saying is, and what Shoshana brought up, is the fact that we thought, like, and we saw a leak. We with our eyes literally saw a leak coming down from the tap on all the tubes. So clean all that up, take it out. Even the cupboard was like water damaged, right? And there was a stain as well. The plumber saw that this morning, but there's nothing wrong. Right? So that's what Shoshana was talking about, is that I think, did I think about, like, I'm not like,
You got some
Your
water stuff going
underlying
on.
feeling is your whole
I
being.
wanted everything to be okay.
You wanted and it is okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we need to focus on, and that's what we really remember to do. And
Yeah.
what way I put it, I use Brene Brown, is that we use everything around us as validation,
Yeah.
Evidence.
Yeah.
right? So you
mm,
wanted it to be validated. You really didn't want that to be validation. Why do we have to, just because you observe something, make that your validation? Go back and say, what do I want? That's my validation. Why what somebody else in society says about you is that your validation? You have to think of yourself that way. You have to be and act and all the rest of it that way. Go back
Yeah.
and say, what is it? What I can validate myself.
That's a good example, because that's I was wanting it to be able to be something more personal for somebody, as in a feeling, a validation. Don't take somebody else's thoughts and feelings, just collect it as data and just revert. What is it that I want? Right? Yeah, that's a good example.
But you
And
needed the water to be the contrast or the evidence of something that you didn't want. You needed that data to go, wait a minute, I knew there was a problem here already, or I thought there was a problem here already. You
Mhm.
needed that contrast to show up in order for you to go, that's not what I want.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not what I
and
want in
then
my
you
experience. And then that's what you created.
right, and we're saying now that you were validated, but you weren't validated immediately. You just trusted in what you wanted. Like you weren't validated with your eyes immediately, I should say that differently. Right?
Yeah.
Like you were
Right.
validated when the plumber came in this morning, but not when it immediately happened.
So in that little bit of time, what would someone have to implement? I can say what I think I needed to implement or what I did implement. Faith.
Well, and it's the same thing
Mm-hmm.
as going back
Trust,
to
yeah.
collecting data, right?
Right.
And going back to what they said later on in I want a prosperous life. But then you see somebody with a prosperous life, but they're sick.
Mm,
Well, okay, I'm not choosing that. I'm choosing I want a prosperous life without the sickness. But you needed to see that evidence of somebody else having a prosperous life in order for you to believe for yourself that there's an opportunity for you to have a prosperous life.
yeah.
But then you're
That's
collecting the data that you want to include in your workshop.
that's right. That's great that you bring that up, because I think it's important for the viewers, the people listening. Whenever you see somebody with prosperity and illness, what happens? Where do people mostly put their attention? Oh my gosh, I don't want to, I'll get money, and then what happens if I get sick? Like they Whereas you're supposed to totally ignore that part of it when you're collecting it as data for yourself, and not focus on, I don't want to get sick, I don't want to get sick, I don't want to, because where's your focus going? Right? It's great that you brought that up. Yeah.
Can we also offer an example of like when, this is something unconsciously manifested, maybe, right?
Mm.
I want to talk about conscious manifestation. So when we actually put out an ask into the universe, I want this, and things don't necessarily go our way immediately. So the evidence takes a minute for it to like reveal itself. But in those moments, your feelings start revealing to you what you believe about whether or not you are going to be able to manifest what you desire, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to show people by this example that when we are met with something that happens out of fate, quote unquote, that we find a way. But why is it that when we have a desire and it's like really lighting up our inner being, we give up on it? We're like, no, maybe it's not going to work. Why do we give up so quickly? Why was the water tank a necessity and it happened? Like people can look in the hindsight of their life and see anything, like if it was a rear ending or if it was something, anything. Even though you thought that you didn't have money to purchase maybe something that your heart really desired, it could be something big, it could be something small, it doesn't matter. It could be an experience, a travel. And you're like, no, I can't. There's no possible way that I can make it happen. Yet in the same time frame reality, you were met with a tragedy and all of a sudden the money appeared. How is that possible? And you're okay. How is that possible?
Yeah.
Right?
I think you said it, Rosie. You said necessity,
Yeah, yeah, I know.
The
But like
belief.
you have to
right?
believe that it's a
Exactly.
priority. So
Mm-hmm.
putting your
Yes.
needs and your wants as a priority, because your higher self, your inner being, is lit up by something that you desire. Give it importance too. Don't just shun it away. That's how we suppress our emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah. But why can't they both be necessity?
Right.
You're right.
Right?
You're right.
Right.
But that, I think, is collective conditioning. That is
Yeah.
like, that's not a necessity. You don't need that to make you happy. But
Mm-hmm.
what if that is what your inner being desires? What if that is what your soul desires? What if that
Yeah.
was meant for you to have that experience here while living this life? But conditioning takes over and has a way of allowing us to speak to ourselves. And then, why do you think there's so much discord inside?
Mhm.
Why do you think there's so much flip flop with your feelings, right? Because your emotions are your own personal guidance system about what you're focusing on and what you believe,
Exactly.
right?
Can I take it one step further?
Of
We
course.
talk a lot about procrastination.
Mm,
I don't believe there's any procrastination.
go on.
When you don't
Yeah.
do something, when you don't do something and you feel that you need to do it and you're not accomplishing it, there's usually something that's not aligned in you and not allowing you to do the task. Simple.
Ooh, that's good.
It could simply just be timing. Like
Yeah.
it's something that
Whatever it
needed
is.
to be done, but you're not supposed to do it in this time frame, in this
Mm,
day or whatever.
wow, that's a good one.
And you guys touched on it in the sick part, right? In the workshop, like I really love this example and I recognize in myself too sometimes, we're like, "Oh yeah, I would love to borrow that belief or borrow that imagination of that person who is prosperous. I would love that life." But then automatically sometimes we focus on the negative and we're like, "Oh,
Mm,
but I don't want that." But then
mhm,
it just so happens that we attach to the fear of the not happening part that we don't desire more, that we even like, you know, like dig our heels a little bit in actually moving forward in something that we would love, but stop ourselves because we think it's going to look like that. But really, we have the power to shape what it's going to look like. So that I really loved too. It's like, it's up to you. So it's nice to know that if I see someone who is prosperous but sick, I don't need to bring the whole package into my workshop. So good.
that's so good.
Yeah. I love that piece too, Rosie. And just like you just spoke of, like you don't need, you might see someone and you love this one thing about like what they have or whatever, but you don't, like I think about like entrepreneurs that are super successful and you're like, oh, like they have this beautiful house and like they whatever it is that you like or the vehicle they drive, like you like that, but like you don't want all the other things that go along with it. Like you can divide that up and just say, oh no, like I just desire this and I don't need to take all that other stuff.
Yeah, that's so
Right?
good. Can I offer a perspective here? So if you think about an experience that you've either witnessed or you were part of in your previous experiences. So I don't want to say previous life, but in your life previously, like 10, 15, 20 years ago, you happen to be part of an experience that, for example, let's say somebody won a lot of money in your family, but they lost it all. Okay. Spent it all, lost it all, gave whatever. You're like, you make up a belief in your head about that experience using all the positive and all the negative to come to your own personal belief about like, well, I never want to win money because everyone loses it all. Do you see how you pull in every single bit of that experience that you've either witnessed, watched, or were part of? And so I love that. Literally, I mean, we didn't need to be given permission, but the book is giving us permission that when we're collecting data, be careful about what data you're collecting from
Mm,
witnessing somebody collect having an experience, and then that's really looking at your own personal inner beliefs, because what is it within your business that you're like, oh, I've witnessed somebody do, they had to work around the clock and they had to do this and they had to do that, and like, oh, so I don't want to do that, right? We come up and we make up our own little beliefs about what serves us.
Mm.
But I guess, would someone agree that right now what you could do to look at to resolve those inner beliefs, those limiting beliefs, is like, how do you actually feel about it? Look at how you feel about it. What is causing discord within?
Well, and the other piece of this too, I feel, is that when we're going through the experience, we as humans in the human experience, we very much, again, going back to the past experience, we spend a lot of the time in the past, and that's what guides our future. And
Mm,
when we're in this process of reading this book and talking about creation, knowing that, again, the permission of we can now create something that's different. Because that in
mm,
itself is a mind-blowing thought of like, it doesn't need to be the same it's always been in the past. We can create a different experience today by choosing that, which is what it said in here too, right? By choosing, making a decision around that.
yeah. You know what is a clear example of that? I don't know if you've ever read Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz, but they talk in there about the whole experience about running, I'm going to maybe butcher it. I think it's running a kilometer under so many minutes, or running a mile under so many, running a mile under so many minutes. Nobody at that time had ever broke the record, but they did break it. And so, had he held on to the collective belief saying, like, well, nobody's ever broke it running a mile under 5 minutes, so it can never be done. But he had a belief. So he leaned more on the possibility of what can happen without, like, a limitless thought. So how can we, people watching this, apply that same idea without using past as an example, because it doesn't mean that it's forever true, right? That's okay. Shoshana?
And the biggest thing that we have to continuously go back and ask ourselves, what is it that I truly want? Doesn't
Mm,
matter what the outside evidence is showing me. What do I truly, truly desire? What is it? Like A, B, C, D, detail, 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 detail. And sometimes it's not what we see other people doing, and it's not anything like that. And it's okay, like this person with the race, right? Running that 5 minute mile. I would never want that. That's not my desires, right? It's not on my radar. But for some, there are other things that are on my radar that haven't been accomplished yet, and I
ooh,
can
that's
create it,
good.
right? That's it. It's
Yeah.
that's our how powerful we can actually be, is to concentrate is what is it that I truly desire? What
Mm,
is it that
mm,
I really, really want, right? And how let go of the how it's going to happen, but how do I want to feel about it? Like, does it excite me or does it make me, repel me? And I love running, but I don't need to break. That's not where my desires are to go and do that. I want to feel strong. I want to feel healthy and all the rest of it. That's my desires about running. But what is it that I truly want to create for myself that feels good to me? And it's going to be different for every single one of us. And that's the beauty of it all, that we can do that.
Well,
yeah.
and I think that speaks right to exactly what was in here as well, too, about the fact about the pure desire versus
Mhm.
the desire that we think we should have or we want to do this. But when it's a true desire that aligns with you and it feels good, it's meant for you for your expansion.
Mm,
And I think that's like,
Mm.
when people get into the creating goals and creating like their vision boards and stuff, and they're like, well, do you really need all that money? Do you blah, blah, blah? It has nothing to do with you. That it's very specific, like you said, Shoshana, of like, what do I truly desire? What feels good for me? And I think my belief is that the desire is there for a purpose for us to continue down that journey, to follow that feeling, no matter what it is.
mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's really getting into your imagination and, with no limits, and really getting into that and seeing, what's for you, if that's within your workshop as they walk you through, right?
Right.
But really getting into that imagination and what do you want? Shashan said, like, what do I want? Like, no limits. Like, if there was no time, no financial, no constraints, no nothing, what do you desire? Let that come in.
Yeah. That's really good. Would you guys say that as they're describing the workshop, this is like a visualization? Because she said not meditating, right? And
Not
not
meditating, but picture.
right, right.
Be
Not
very
med
conscious about what you're creating.
yeah.
Choose to create what you desire. and leave everything else out. Choose what it is that you want. Picture it, draw it in your mind, be very familiar. It's like sometimes we could go back to the race, right? You have
Mm-hmm.
to visualize yourself racing. And when you're actually physically doing it, it feels so familiar to you. Like you feel how it is already. That's what this workshop is. Like choose all of that. Yeah. Um, get familiar with
That's
it.
that's a
Like,
really smart way to look at it. Yeah, yeah.
it's
It feel
like
Go, sorry,
they're
go
your
ahead.
wedding dress, right? We've all imagined our wedding dresses to some sort of thing that when you actually put it on, it feels familiar and you're able to say, yeah, that's the one. Even
Yeah,
so, it may not look like this or may not look like that or whatever it is, but you have that familiar feeling. And
yeah,
that's what it is that you can have with every single thing that you truly want. Because if it's not familiar, then it may not be what you truly desire.
yeah,
The wedding dress is a great analogy. How
yeah,
many times do you watch a bride like put on a dress and be like, I just like it's just not the one. I don't feel it. It's because they've imagined what that feeling is like and they're not
yeah.
getting it in that moment staring at themselves in the mirror,
That's a really key
right?
word you just said there, right? You said they get a feeling. You didn't say the picture or the idea of exactly what the dress is. It's when they
No,
put
it's
the
the
dress
feeling.
on, it's the feeling that they
And
had.
when and people they start crying often, or their mom starts crying, or the
They're
people like
connected to that
say yes
inner
to the dress.
being.
Just watch it for a minute, right? Like,
Yeah,
yeah. When I hear the workshop, I feel like it's more of like an activation, like a
for
consistent
sure.
way that you're getting familiar with it, that you're activating it.
Hmm. It said, actually, the first question before Abraham talked about the workshop, it said, how can I increase my magnetic power? You want to attract, you want to pull towards you those desires, those wishes, all those things, right? So that's how you activate it. So I see the workshop as a visualization, getting into the feel, because they also said, don't start it if you're not happy. So it's an effective tool, but don't use it as a tool in a moment of, oh, I need to shake this. Because then you're carrying forth those feelings into that visualization and and they say it's not going to work.
Well, and I think part of that too is it's whatever whoever's listening or any one of us, it's whatever feels right for you. Again, going back to the feeling is that it could be a visualization, it could be an activation. It doesn't matter what you call it, as long as you're doing it in, like you said,
Yeah.
the conscious creation of
Yeah.
choosing what you truly desire and getting familiar with it and really like connecting with it on a continual basis and magnetizing and bringing it to you. So it doesn't matter what we call it. It's
Yeah,
just
you're right.
whatever what feels right for you in whatever practice you want to do it in. It could be, it doesn't, it's, and I've just my own opinion, but it's like it talks about not being a meditation, but what if it is? Because if that works for somebody, that's good too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, practice.
that's good.
Mhm.
So good. Ugh, this was an amazing, amazing chapter.
There's one piece too. I don't know if you want to continue to talk about now, because I know we're getting to the end of our hour. But I wanted to bring up, even maybe at our next one, is the piece about because so many people get caught up in this space of monitoring the thoughts that it's a difficult and making it hard because they have to monitor all the things and the thoughts that go on in
Oh,
their
that was, yes. Yeah,
wanted to come
I'm
back
okay to
to.
talk about it now. Does anybody else want to talk about it now for we could give it 5 minutes?
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Does
would love to
anybody
talk about
want
it.
to? Okay.
That really like stuck out to me too, because it's like it's almost like driving yourself mad because you're trying to like police every single thought that you
You're
have
right.
going,
Mm-hmm.
rather than switching to the feeling that you're having in a moment of whether or not you are in the right place or not, or you're in the right time frame. Sorry, not the time frame, but like the right
Space.
resonance, like alignment with oneself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just that's what is revealing to you. Don't worry about the thoughts because the law of rhythm is still going to be there. So don't worry about those thoughts. But what are you like? The underlying thought behind focusing on all the thoughts is like, oh my gosh, I must be doing something wrong. Like you're living in fear. You're not living out of love and
Yeah,
abundance,
that's so true.
right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thanks for that, Elena, because it stood out for sure.
Well, I just feel like sometimes like people that start the manifestation process are like, oh, I'm going to manifest things. And they get so caught up in oh, I need to pay attention to how I'm feeling and thinking and whatever. And the feeling that you need to pay attention to is what you feel aligned to. Like you said, Rosie, of
Yeah.
and what we've been talking about all along, even creating in that workshop, what feels good for you, not and it's creating resistance in the like, oh my gosh, did I think the wrong thing? Because I feel like sometimes people get like, I thought that thought and then I manifested it. And then, of course, and then they get caught up in the whole whirlwind of, oh my gosh, am I thinking the right things all the time?
Yeah.
It's
Mm-hmm.
That
what's the word? Dominant feeling.
Yeah.
that too, plus like and to some extent I feel like we all kind of go through that experience, especially when we go through our awakening. We're just like, oh my God,
Mm-hmm.
you get hyper fixated on how can I do things perfectly? How can I make sure that I never experience a bad thing? And we end up sabotaging a lot of the relationships that we have, the people that we are surrounded by. And that's ego, guys. That's not
100%.
your higher being, you know? So it's the recognition of that as well. So I love this. I'm glad that people are going to be able to hear this.
Yeah. I think what is really good that she added in there is that she or he, or I forget what part it was that we were rating it, but it was just redirect your focus. Is that what you want? It's the words and everything are a way to say, am I focused on what I want? Am I focused on the good feeling? Like, I want to say what I want, but it's not always the material too, right? Like if we take it for an example, what everybody is reaching for is to feel seen and heard, to have confidence, right? To be able to show up for themselves, for everybody else, because everybody wants to serve. You know, when you ask coaches, it's like, why do you want to coach? Well, I want to help people, but then they can't show up because they feel they lack confidence. So what are they focused on? Right? They're focused on all the stuff they've collected as data, as like everything that's outside of them. But if you just take for a second and think about, she said, you don't have to focus on that part of it, right? And stop looking at feelings as, and I think this kind of is full circle back to the very beginning. I feel like focus on feelings as your inner guidance. It's just telling you what you're focusing on. And if it's something that you don't want, then you're focused on that and just redirect your focus. Yeah.
I just had a visual of like a lighthouse and that beam of light, and you're trying to go towards it because that's where you know you have to go. And that's where you need to put your focus. But then sometimes you start steering yourself and you'll start going into the darkness, and you just got to refocus to that lighthouse and keep going, right? Like sometimes we just need to course correct.
And the lighthouse would be the feeling, right?
Yeah.
That, or I would also say it's not a destination outside of you. It's the lighthouse of your inner being, your higher self. So connecting to yourself, keeping that as your ultimate anchor, because when you're in alignment with your higher self and yourself for that matter, because everything else is just a discord, right? Evidence of you not being in alignment. So that lighthouse is not outside of you. That lighthouse is you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Beautiful.
That's really good. Did you have anything else, Alana, you want to say when you brought that up? No. This is so good. This was a beautiful day, ladies. I think this is really helpful for the viewers, for us, for this magical space that we've created. I'm so happy that we could come together and it's just the beginning because look, we still have so much left. It's like these
So
last
much.
few got so good so quick, you know? It's like sometimes I'm reading and you almost want to highlight the whole thing. You're like, well, that was all so good.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right. Till next week.
Till next
Thank you so
week.
much.
Yeah.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.